Hi, I'm Lisa Sarges, author of Diary of a Fat Girl, How I Lost 140 Pounds, Overcame Binge Eating Disorder, and Learned to Love Myself After Weight Loss Surgery. I talk about my mother a lot in my book and the difficulties of being raised by a mother with a mood disorder. According to my studies, my years of studies, and yes, one of my master's degrees is in counseling psychology. She has a combination of narcissistic traits and borderline personality disorder traits. She is not aware of her effect on other people. Her empathy is low, and it was pretty much a nightmare being raised by her. Very verbally abusive, psychologically abusive. It has taken me decades to even get to this point where I can understand what I went through, find others who went through the same thing I did, so we can talk to each other online and say, no, this was not normal. This is not what other people went through. This is not okay. And more importantly, not our fault. So today I wanted to talk to you about my not moving on, because my mother's 96, my dad is going to be 90, and I'm an only child. I have a brother from my mom's first marriage, but he's 19 years older than I am. We weren't raised together. So in effect, I was an only child, and I feel obligated to take care of them in their old age. And it's very hard because her personality hasn't changed and certain things are very much still the same. And in particular, what I wanted to talk about was a condition called misophonia. Misophonia is being allergic almost to certain noises, certain sounds that can produce severe irritation and often rage in the person who, I'm looking at myself, trying to smooth down my hair. It produces a very painful reaction, like nails on a chalkboard is, that sound is for some people. For people who suffer misophonia, it can be the sounds of people eating or chewing, crinkling of papers, and the SH, CH, or S sounds. It's called sibilants that people make. I noticed at a very young age, how old could I have been? 5, 6 years old, that listening to my mother's sh sounds, it was so painful. It still is. Not was, but it is very painful. And I even said something to her. God, was I 7 years old or 8 years old? I just couldn't take it anymore. And I said, Ma, there's these sounds you make, when you go shh, and it really bothers me. And so she says, well, Lise, let me know when I'm doing it, and I'll stop. So I did, and she, I think, threw something at me. Yeah. She understandably said, well, what am I supposed to do? Change the way I talk? But she was very angry and annoyed by this. So I just suffered in silence. This, I believe, partially, is learned behavior. She had a business downstairs in the basement of our house. We have a little Cape Cod, and she spent many hours down there, and the sounds of people walking on the main floor made her crazy. She would scream at us, me and my dad, stop walking around like a herd of elephants. Well, we weren't. We were just walking. How many times do you have to walk back and forth? My father's funny. He would pretend he was tap dancing sometimes just to shut her up, but she would rage at us. And I learned to walk on my toes. I also didn't realize I was walking on my toes until I moved out. I was free of her, but then I got into some abusive relationships, so it was from the fire into the frying pan, or frying pan into the fire. And my roommate said, "Why do you always walk on your tiptoes?" I'm like, "I don't walk on my tiptoes." He's like, "You're doing it right now." I'm like, "Oh, wow." And I noticed. And it took me a while to learn to walk normally. It was rough. So I understand she suffered too. She would never admit that it was something she suffered from, or that it was a nervous tick, or whatever you would have called it back in the 70s. It was just something we had to not do. Like, we couldn't make noise. I couldn't sing out loud or play out loud. It bothered her. Oh, it was rough. Playing silently and in perfect stillness, so as not to invoke my mother's rage. It was so hard. So whether it was learned behavior, or as I study misophonia and other people who suffer, it's often a parent's voice that people have a reaction to. And I think it's just a covered up, suppressed anger that we weren't allowed to express because of the rage we would get back from them. So hearing their voices is just torture. So it continues to be torture to hear her shush and shush and make her sibilant sounds. So I put earplugs in. It blocks out 25-30%, but it's still. And my response is like, I have to cancel it out. It's such a disorder to, she'll make a sh sound, church. And it's like she's hitting the CH sounds extra hard. I don't know if she is or not at this point, subconsciously knowing it bothers me. She's sadistic. I have to cancel it out by making that noise back. And she hasn't said anything recently about it, but that's what I do. So church, and I'll have to go to cancel it out. Yeah, it's hell. It's a special kind of hell that I live with, and that other misophones live with. Some people have earbuds in, and they walk around with white noise to block out the unpleasant sounds. Or they'll have to just walk away when somebody's eating or chewing. It used to be so bad in my classes, I wouldn't let my students chew gum or eat in class. Ask my former students. But I have since calmed down. Mindfulness has helped me quite a bit. A dear friend of mine, Mark Van Buren, you should watch his videos here on YouTube. He says, well, if crinkling or chewing bothers you, it's because you have something noisy inside you that needs some compassion and needs some attending to. And I took that to heart, and through mindfulness and meditation and calming down in general, and being very self-forgiving and self-compassionate, I can now tolerate my students chewing gum and eating. This is a big step for me. But not my mother. I can't tolerate those noises. I can't. It's so painful. It hurts. It's nails on a chalkboard. It's just agony. Many people who have narcissistic parents, adult children of alcoholics, parents with borderline personality disorder, have found peace by going no contact. They no longer have contact with their abusive parent. I tried to go low contact once, but it didn't really work out. She was neglecting my elderly father, and, out of spite, of course. Now, you say this to her, and she'll deny it. Well, he's abusive to me, Lise. He's always trying to hit me. Now, I know why he tries to hit her. He doesn't. But he gets mad because she provokes him. She triggers him. She talks down to him. She shames him. My best friends happen to live in the house there. And when they're on the main floor with her, they catch her doing things to him, locking him in his bedroom, blocking the door so he can't get out. And if I call and say, Ma, are you not letting Daddy out of the bedroom? She'll deny it, and then she'll get mad at my friends. And it's just, you can't win. It's not like you can make I statements and express yourself and have that work. It doesn't work with them. They will fly into a rage at you. So, yeah, it's come to the point where Mom needs help taking care of him. My dad has dementia. He doesn't know what day it is. He recognizes me still, which is a relief. But he has to have his diaper changed every day. He needs care. And she was fed up with doing it or exhausted from doing it. Look, understandably, 96-year-old woman, I get it. But because she's so difficult, it's hard to know what's real and what she's exaggerating to get sympathy or to manipulate. So it was time to make a decision about the living situation. Do we put them in a nursing home? Now, if you put your parents in a nursing home and you have not prepared 5 years in advance by transferring the ownership of the house, etc., you lose everything. Everything. The house, the pension, the Social Security, death benefits, everything goes to the nursing home. And it would be very disturbing to take my father out of his environment, and my mother, even though she says, I don't care about this house. This is your father's house, and I hate your father, and blah, blah, blah. She still didn't want to be displaced and separated from her cat, etc. She wanted to stay in the house. So, well, I'm not saying there's nothing in it for me. I would like to inherit that house. Reparations, maybe? You can call it reparations. I don't want to lose the little bit of inheritance I would get by inheriting that house, so that I could get some medical care and help pay off my student loans. So, okay, the decision was made this summer. I would move home so I could take care of them. This would involve building a space for me, either converting the attic into a little apartment, adding a bathroom, or extending the first floor, adding a bathroom. I need my own bathroom. And, finishing the basement where my friends live. Making it a real apartment instead of just a basement. Turning it into an apartment for them with a bath and a shower, etc. So we got a contractor. We put a couple of $1,000 down, assuming that we'd just be able to get a home equity loan. Their house is paid. The mortgage is paid. They own it outright. Why not just be able to cash in on that equity? That's not how the world works, though, because they had tremendous debt. And when I say tremendous, I mean, 50, let's say 50,000, just guesstimate. Part of that was mine. My car is in their name that I lease, and 2 credit cards in their name. So I'm not blaming them, not blaming my mother for not knowing better that if you have too high a debt to income ratio, you can't get a home equity loan. Well, that's what happened. And the construction already began, and we found out we can't get money. This was bad. Very bad. But what we did qualify for is a reverse mortgage. It's a complicated process, but you cash in on the equity of your house, and then when both occupants, both parents pass away, you can either pay back what you spent of that reverse mortgage, or you sell the house to pay it back, and you keep part of that sale because some of the equity just remains in the house. So that's what we went with. That entailed me being very involved over there. Very involved. The amount of paperwork to get a reverse mortgage It was a Megillah, if I might use some Yiddish. Also applying for that program where you can, through the county, you can hire your own daughter, me, to be the home health aide, and you get an allowance for that. So that was another big set of paperwork. So my summer entailed paperwork and signatures and explaining to them what they were getting into and counseling, seniors to protect them. The FHA makes sure that they're counseled so they understand what's entailed, and I had to set that up. It has just been... Which cat is making so much annoying noise? See? Misophonia. One of my cats was eating plastic. Probably Xander. Misophonia. Yeah, so the equivalent of what a social worker would do, it was just hell. And having to be there every day. And I'm still there every day until we can, get some help over there. Yeah, she still is the one who changes his diapers, but I make sure that his bedding is changed, and the floor is mopped, and the bathroom is cleaned, and the shopping is done. And I am there every day like a dutiful, good daughter. I once had a therapist who said, stop trying to be the good daughter. Well, I never stopped. My sense of obligation to my parents is very strong, and so I am tortured on a daily basis with the sound of her voice and, of course, her verbal abuse of me and my dad, and her undermining me in a million ways. You want an example? Like, she'll triangulate, that's talk to a third person, and, well, blah, blah, blah says that we're going to lose the house. Or, why is this taking so long? Why are you calling that broker every day? And... it doesn't sound as bad when I repeat it, but when you're on the receiving end of it, it's like being punched in your third eye with an arrow, a poison one. It's bad. Why am I telling you this? Because if you're going through it, you're not alone. If you were brave enough or in the position to go no contact with your abusive parent or parents, I give you a lot of credit. I was not able to do that. To explain that it is so not your fault. Just because we've let them off the hook, if you have, by saying, well, they have a mood disorder or an addiction or whatever, and they can't help themselves, it doesn't mean you deserve to suffer so badly. This is a unique kind of suffering, a cross to bear every day, to constantly be put down and second-guessed. Ever since I was a little girl, she just has zero interest in my experiences. Now, as an adult, you could say, well, get your validation from your friends. Yes, I do. But this started when I was 5, 4 even, when I started to have my own wants, needs, and express them and express opinions and be annoyed when she was being unreasonable. It was a betrayal to her, and she started treating me like there was something wrong with me. Grouchy, monster, no good kid. Terrible. Wouldn't take me to dancing school after a certain age because it was inconvenient to her. And when I was in the choir, she wouldn't come and see me unless I had a solo. What do I have to sit through that for? Boring. It's not like you have a solo or anything. So my dad would come, but he also said, well, Lisa, I know how important it was when I was playing football. My father wouldn't come to see me play football, and my cousin Butchie used to come to see me, so I'm going to come and see you. So not to say, hey, you worked so hard, the music's beautiful, I want to hear you sing. It's just, duty. Duty. Oh, Ma, I'm coming later on today. I'm meeting with a student. We're working on a project together. Doesn't ask, what's the project? Or doesn't know my classes, what I'm teaching. Yeah, you could say she's 96 and she's not all there, or can't keep track of all those details, but she was never interested. It was never interesting to her, my accomplishments. And if I had accomplishments, she would always respond with, well, in 8th grade, I gave my 8th grade speech, and mommy's a good public speaker. One speech she did at one time, like, having to learn that I matter and to matter to myself, it's taken me a while. I got on the right track about 10 years ago and steadily improving. So yeah, you're not alone. If the sound of their voice cuts through you, it's not your fault. There's a reason for that. You're not alone. Get earplugs. I'm working on getting a white noise generator to just have when I'm over there. Maybe cut out 50% of her shushling and chuchling, rather than just the 25% I get from tissues in my ears. Not your fault. You're not alone. And I know I don't have to be doing this. I could have just put them in a home and given up everything, but my sense of duty to them, to keep them in their house, and my sense of duty to myself to inherit part of it, because with the reverse mortgage, after they pass and you sell the house, you have to pay back what you borrowed, but there's some left over, and being able to use that money to get them care so I don't have to do it and I don't have to be there every day, also important. So do what you have to do to get yourself some peace, whether it's time away from them or time with friends, or if you're in group therapy, or you go to Al-Anon where you can talk, or you watch videos on YouTube. I find that very therapeutic. Whether you practice mindfulness, I'll make a video about that on my other channel. I don't say my last name on this one. I don't want people to be able to look me up. If I recommend, if you find me because I recommended you to come and watch these, that's different. And you could share this, but I'm not saying who I am on this channel. Well, I did. I told you the name of my book. And I told you my name. But I'm not putting it in writing, so it's not searchable. So if you do get my book, hey, it'll really help me out if you left me a review on Amazon. If you get the audiobook, it is me. It's my voice. I'm reading it. And I had a great audio engineer, so there's no shushling and chuchling and extra S's or k sounds or anything like that. It's very, I hope it's miso-friendly so that you can enjoy it. Until next time, take care of yourself.